frequently we see, not on very high level, but from lower to upper medium level, we see players play a London system kind of structure. Well, it's going knight f3 in this position, and then bishop e4, e3, and c3. How do we play against this system? Well, there is one very simple way to learn how to deal with it. On knight f3, we go g6, since we don't know yet what system white wants to play. They can still go c4 and transpose to classical, but they go bishop f4 or bishop g5. The system we're going to play will make no difference whether white goes bishop f4 or bishop g5. Okay, they go bishop f4, we go bishop g7, they go e3, and we go d6, and here is why we're going d6 first. We don't castle here, because you remember in knight f3, knight c3, and bishop f4 variation, white still we looked at white still can go c4 here, and now we go c6, and if white goes knight c3, then we transpose to the bishop f4 variations where we play queen a5. Well, when we went d6 here, white can go c3 or h3, preparing the retreat square for bishop to h2. So black castles, black makes all the standard moves. White goes c3, black goes knight d7, white goes bishop e2. And here is the universal system that works well, works equally well, whether white's bishop is on f4 or on g5. We go here b6, white castles. We go bishop b7. And important thing to know here, white is probably going to go knight d2, that if they go a4, any time a4 is played, we want to play a6. What black doesn't want white to allow is to play a5. I'm explaining why. Because, for example, we went rook e8, white goes a5, and we go e5, and as expected, white goes bishop h2. Now we have to always be aware of a6 move, which going to represent some problems for black. Maybe not immediately, but later. Also taking AB, and AB, if our rook left already in the middle of the game, will open the A file for white. But the main reason is, of course, after A6 and bishop to C6, black's light square bishop may be in trouble. B4 and B5, very uncomfortable. So on A4, we want to play A6. So let's go again with the move order. Move order stays the same regardless what white does until they play A4. Again, D4, knight F6, knight F3, D6, bishop F4, G6, or G6 and bishop F4, bishop G7, and E3, D6. That part, move order, makes no difference. Now, we go D6, and white goes C3, we castle, and white goes H3. All of you who plays King's Indian, I'm sure you have many times faced this way of playing by white. In this position, black plays b6, white goes bishop e2, black goes bishop b7. A4 will be automatically met by a6. And if white now goes a5, black will go b5. You see, you don't have the problems we just discussed. If white doesn't play a4, white castles, we continue development. Knight d7, again on a4, a6 immediately. Knight d2, rook to e8, and we want to play e5. On a4 we go a6, and if white goes queen c2 we go e5, and on bishop h2 black is doing very fine. They can go queen e7 followed by e4, or they can go e4 right away. Most frequently in this position white takes on e5, and when black takes, then white goes bishop h2. Now in this particular position, this is not a good way to play for white, because black can go e4 and on knight d4 c5, because a4 a6 moves are included, and white cannot play knight to b5. But if a4 and a6 moves are not included and black played e4 and knight d4, now black will go a6. They want to go a6. First of all, they want to stop white from playing bishop to b5 and possibly knight c6. a4 is good prophylactic move, followed by c5, and white's pieces will have very difficult time to find good spots. So this is easy way to deal with bishop f4, e3, and c3 setup. Now, slightly different if black plays, if white plays different move order, like d4, knight f6, knight f3, d6, the knight f3, g6, for example, bishop f4, bishop g7, and if white plays knight to d2. First of all, we can go c5, and that interferes with white's e4 move, because on e4 we simply take cd, and we did not give white strong pawn center. If white plays dc, they are not gonna keep the c5, extra c5 pawn, because we're gonna go knight a6, and we want to take the c5 pawn, and on knight b3 the simplest way is to play knight takes c5, knight takes c5, and queen a5 check, and black has absolutely no problems. And the c5, after c5, if white decides to play c3, then we can take c takes d, c takes d, and go even d5. Or another opportunity is to play queen a5. Now this eliminates e4 possibility because of knight takes e4. And queen on a5 stands well. It's a typical position. That's an easy way to play against white's attempt to go early e4. So on knight d2, c5 is the simplest way to play for black. So and as only other thing is, after first two moves in this position, if white goes bishop g5, is this any different? It's a little different, but it does not make difference in black's way to play this position. Bishop g7, suppose white goes e3, we go d6, now they go c3, we go castling, they go bishop e2, we go knight d7, they castle. Now I want to point that here we can get white's light square bishop. We see, if bishop was on f4, As I mentioned, the same trick white has if we went after white's dark square bishop. On knight h5, they go bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, and after g5, knight to d2. And white will get to keep their dark squared bishop, because black has to play knight f6 and then bishop g3. Completely different story if bishop is already on g5. Then we go h6, and after bishop h4 we will go g5, and on bishop g3 we go simply knight to e4 or knight h5, doesn't make any difference, and we will get black's dark square bishop, and black is doing white's dark square bishop, and black is doing very fine. They can go e5 and f5 with very active position in the center and on the king side. So bishop g5, we have an additional attempt to go h6. But if instead of castle white played h3, then we can always transpose to the same plan we intended to play on bishop f4, b6, castle, bishop b7, same on a4, we go a6, made it exactly the same way, so we have no problems at all. And then we will go maybe h6 once, but we don't go g5, and we play e5, and we have very fine game. So this practically covers all the possibilities we can see in when white plays bishop f4 without c4, bishop f4 or bishop g5 by playing e3 and c3. So it's very simple system and very easy to digest and use it anytime in a tournament game.